My name is Jim Cloyd. I am going to be the facilitator for this august panel, and also the opportunity for you in the audience in a few moments to ask questions or offer comments that could include questions to our eminent cast. But before we do, if you'd like to stand up for 30 seconds and take a deep breath and exhale, or inhale, as the case may be, let's do that while we get settled. And then what will happen is we're going to have our panel introduce themselves, provide you with some idea of their link to the rare disorders, and then they're going to comment on what resonated for them with regard to this play. So we're about ready to start. Well, let's begin, and I would ask each panelist to tell us who they are and their link to rare diseases. And we'll begin with Dr. Severson.
Hi. I'm Grant Severson. I'm a pediatric rheumatologist. My link to rare diseases really comes through my clinical practice. I deal with, many people don't know what a pediatric rheumatologist is, so I get asked what I do for a living all the time. And because of that, I just tend to talk that I take care of kids that have rheumatic illnesses. Probably the most common we care for is juvenile arthritis, but also deal with patients with lupus and vasculitis and even other immune regulatory disorders.
Hi, my name is Trisha Gates, and I am the mother to a daughter. Her name is Bria, and she has a rare terminal disease called Sanfilippo syndrome. The life expectancy is 10 to 20 years, and she is 13 years old.
My name is Kevin Kling, and I had the pleasure of working on this piece, but it was a combo effort. I think cast members and all kinds of voices that came together for this. And so it was a great honor to get to work on this. Oh, and I have a rare disease. So, yeah.
And my background is I'm a pharmacist and a clinical pharmacologist. I've helped develop several orphan drugs used to treat rare disorders, and I direct a Center for Orphan Drug Research, in which we're engaged in research, education, and outreach and community engagement, such as this play. And now I'm going to ask the panelists to offer some comments, and the nature of this question is, what resonated with you with regard to this play? And we'll start with you.
I think what resonated with me the most was just the alienation and isolation people can feel when they have a rare disease, be it a patient or their family. I think oftentimes when the diagnosis is made, it's a life-changing moment, and trying to understand what's going on, but also realizing that your life is never going to be the same again. And just seeing, even more acutely in teenagers that have new diagnoses and how their whole identity is, destroyed in that sense, and having to either explain or not explain to the people in their lives what's going on, and that can be very difficult.
There's a scene in the play where Odysseus is talking about the tracker, and the tracker, in fact, could be a physician, and the physician should be in the story. How did you interpret that scene?
I think you have to really balance, your personal experience and bring your experiences to your the diagnosis and your individual patient care. I think the other thing I thought about that scene is that if you're not willing to step back and look at who you are and the way you're doing things, you may miss something important.
Tricia, what resonated with you with regard to this play?
I'd have to say what resonated with me the most was just getting to the diagnosis. With my daughter, I knew pretty much, I don't really know why, but I knew at birth something wasn't right. And it took 3 years to get to diagnosis, and just, never being told what was going on was like not uncommon, and just knowing with my instincts and with my other children that this wasn't normal. And, even going so far as a doctor once telling me that I was the reason that she's not doing something. So it was, I think, maybe third or fourth doctor that finally suggested, actually really, really observed her and, thought, okay, I think something's going on here, and referred me to a geneticist. And it wasn't until then that, finally someone believed me, and we got to diagnosis actually pretty quick after that. But it's been really hard, and some of those things that were said to me when she was little in doctoring, the words that some of these doctors, it has impacted me like more than, it's greatly impacted me.
Have you been, or are you now connected with any of the advocacy organizations for this condition?
You mean as far as like raising awareness and things,
Yes.
or what? There are different groups like that I'm a part of with her rare disease that's all over the world. Team San Filippo is one, and they do a lot of awareness and raising funds to fund different treatments and things that are out there and help. And I've definitely been a part of that her whole life. It's a lot of years, and it also comes to a point where you have to live for yourself and your other kids and your job, and your life can be, some families have quit their jobs and just done everything to just raise awareness and raise as much money as possible, and it gets to be difficult to live your life only doing that. It's exhausting, and I have to take care of my daughter, who's deteriorating pretty quickly right now. So,
Thank you. Kevin, you wrote this play, or adapted it, I suppose. We should give Sophocles some credit.
Well, yeah.
So you've been with us since the inception. Have there been any surprises as you saw this play come to life?
Yeah, there's surprises tonight. I think every time I saw and worked on it or heard the words come to life, something new was revealed. Tonight, I just thought the point where I think it was Juliana was handing the bow off to Brent, and he didn't want to take it. He didn't want to be the person that he knew he was going to have to be with the rare disease. And that just reminds me of how it happens. And you also never know what another person is carrying, what weight somebody is carrying that's walking by you. And I thought of this play as like how a storm comes upon you. And the reason it starts with a storm is a rare disease feels like a storm. It just all of a sudden comes upon you. And then there's this amazing team that pulls you through if you do pull through. And we aren't all in the same boat necessarily. We're in different boats in the same storm. And so that's kind of some of the things but every time I see it, more and more things come to life. This company is amazing.
One element that really struck me in the play was the symbol of the bow actually being a potential therapy, and that it could be used, it could do well or it could do harm. And indeed, our medications can sometimes do harm. But from my perspective, that notion is mitigated because of the great skill that care providers, physicians, and nurses, and pharmacists, and others use in using these, many times, complex medications very skillfully in order to produce a very good effect. And so as you witness that particular scene in the play, I just wanted to be sure that we mention that with advances in biomedical science and work with care providers of all sorts, our medications almost always do good when used skillfully. As we move we will be soon moving to the next stage of this panel. Are there other comments you'd like to offer to the audience?
Yeah, again, I just think that I think theater, to me, was a way to explore this. And I have to tell you, there's been a lot of people that have worked on this piece and that have now seen this piece. And I don't know anyone, and the cast included, and everyone I've talked to, that, and getting to meet you all in the orphan drug research and the rare disease department, everybody's life has been changed. And it's been an incredible experience watching like this group and the other groups that have worked on this piece go from being performers to advocates, going from, and to be able to talk and to be able to feel the things that this piece has brought forward. So, and hearing your stories, I mean, just, I mean, to be changed in that way is a blessing.
Thank you, Kevin. It's now time to have you offer any comments or ask questions. And I can't see you out there. Is there any way to bring the lights up so that we can see the audience? Wow. Hey. Please, comments, not only to us, but to the crew, or to the cast as well. Our questions. I see a hand up, and looks like we have somebody racing with will it be a microphone? Great. Okay.
Hello, hot mic. I can never pronounce the guy's name, so I just call him Neo, the character. I wonder about this idea of virtue. You know, Neo is lauded as virtuous for his response to his encounter with someone with this disease. I wonder how you, panelists, how would you wish people would treat or respond to people who have rare diseases, like when you encounter someone? What does virtue look like for us?
Well, we have, anyone on the panel certainly feel free to comment, but we certainly have people who have lived experiences. If either Tricia or Kevin, you'd like to start out the comments.
I sure can. I mean, to me, virtue is, and it's part of the play and part of what you were saying, Grant, is that when a doctor enters the struggle, that to me is the virtue. When a doctor, when I was 3 years old, when I was diagnosed, and this doctor said he was going to fix my arm, and I cried and cried because I didn't want him to fix my arm because it's what made me special. And so this doctor sat down and he said, then we won't fix it, we'll just make it work better and you'll still be special. And that was the first time that I worked with a doctor that was working with me, that was on board with me. And it made all the difference in the world. So to me, that was virtue.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Hello, I'm a retired health professional. I have 2 uncles and a sister who was a nursing professor. They all died of a rare blood disease that was never given a name of any type, and they all died young. One at 9 years old, one at 32, and one at 27. My sister, who died at 27, the nursing professor, who was married to a medical doctor, they sent her results to the top hematologists in the country, and they couldn't name the disease. And she died over a very short period of time. I believe it was about 3 months. We froze her tissues. That was 40 years ago. There was no DNA testing available then. And I'm really wondering, at this point, of course, I'm concerned about the genetics and passing this on, since it has been very prominent in the generations. What would be a wise choice? And at what point do those frozen tissues degenerate? How long and when should DNA testing occur on my sister's frozen tissues? Of course, it was of the internal organs, the liver, kidneys, and, you know, vital organs. I just don't know, because things are changing so fast. And do we wait until another family member is born with that same disease again? Thank you.
Do you want to give it a shot?
I can try. You know, I think the viability of frozen tissue, you know, really depends upon the storage and, you know, how it was stored and the consistency of storage and things like that and how it was prepared. So I can't, you know, speak really to that, not knowing. I think genetic testing of family members is always a complex topic. I think, you know, everybody has to make that decision of whether or not they want to know or not know, especially for adults. And it's often hard if you have kids that you aren't sure you want to get tested because you want them to make that choice. I would say that if you felt it was appropriate, then I certainly think the technology has advanced enough in the last 4 decades where there could be a, you know, plethora of information you could get from that.
So, do you feel it would be perhaps wise to wait longer? Because once those tissues are frozen, are thawed out and tested, I assume they will be disposed of and never be available again. And so we will never have the opportunity again to test those tissues. Is my assumption correct?
Yeah. I'm going to take a chance here. We have in the audience someone who's quite familiar with genetic testing and genetic type research. Dr. Subriyanan, would you, if you would, be willing to address this question about the viability of tissue for repeated testing over time? Let's see. I'm putting him on the spot here. You could certainly. Rena, where are you?
Hello, Dr. Rena. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you meant, the name you said. Yeah, I think you don't have to take out all of the tissue. You just need very little of the tissue to do a genetic testing, so there will be some that would be available. But again, it depends, as Dr. mentioned there, it depends on how the tissue has been preserved, how like it was stored, and if you have like aliquots of it, like small pieces in different containers, then you just have to thaw one to do your testing now, and save the rest for later. No. It depends on how it is saved. I mean, unless I know exactly how it is done, I can't say, but there is a procedure. I mean, whoever did it would know. They would be the best judge how to do it, but there should be a way to do it.
It was done at a top medical center.
So they may really know how to do it and how to do it.
So at this point, it would probably be worth taking a look at. Feel there's enough DNA research before enough.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. That's a huge challenge.
And the person responding is my colleague in the Center for Orphan Drug Research, Dr. Rita Kartha. Rita, thank you very much. Other comments or questions from the audience? And let me turn it now back to the panel. Any final comments from the three of you?
I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank this cast. I want to thank the panel. Thanks for being here. And yeah, this is, like I said, it's been a hard, wonderful education and a wonderful experience working with this cast and crew and research team. So thank you.
In closing, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the University of Minnesota was recently designated as a Center of Excellence for Rare Diseases. That designation came from the National Organization for Rare Disorders. And we are just now beginning to organize ourselves so that we become a world leader in comprehensive clinical care and research across a wide range of disorders. And those of you who provided your email addresses will be able to share with you some links to find out what we are doing in rare disease research and care at the University of Minnesota. And so before I close, I want to again thank the signers. If you would stand up. Signers, thank you. And last but not least, I want to make sure that no one is left alone on this stage, and therefore I would ask the cast to stand up and tell us who you are. And let's begin with Juliana.
I'm Juliana Johnson.
My name is Meg Bradley.
Brant Miller.
Brian Bowes.
Corey Casper.
Juliana Draco.
Nick Chiavarini.
Allison Vincent.
Krista Rupsam Schneider.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, our evening has come to an end. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you take away something special about this issue of rare disorders and the people who live with them. Thank you, and good evening.